Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, it's Saturday, it's hot. Getting a little more work done on this flathead here. It's getting there. Getting cleaned up, looking a lot better. It's finally to the point where I would call it a manageable block. Heck of a lot better than what it was when I started on it, if you've watched any of my other videos. Finally getting cleaned up. There was a lot of crud in this engine. So, probably going to start test fitting everything here today. Don't know how far I'm going to get. It's going to get pretty hot, so I probably don't know that I'll work very long. But just wanted to show a little bit of the progress I've got on this block. And it's not going to a machine shop for a couple reasons. Number one, everything measured within spec. This has actually turned out to be a very low mileage engine. Surprisingly, for the amount of filth and crud that was on it. When I measured the bores and checked everything out, all the bearings, they all look good. Everything looked excellent. So that, and I don't want to be caught in machine shop purgatory for 6 months or more waiting on the machinist. And it's nothing against the machinist, it's just there's a very big shortage of machinists these days, and every machinist I know that's any good is so busy you just have to wait in line. And I really want to get moving on this project. Like I said, everything is in such great shape. I'm pretty confident in it that there's no issues. I checked it out. There's no cracks. Well, no critical cracks. I've never seen a flathead that didn't have cracks, but this one's got a couple, but nothing severe. So I think it's gonna work out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. All the bearings were amazing. You pretty much could have used the bearings that came out of it again, but I won't do that. I'm not that cheap. Just clean this up, because one of the things that I always like on these blocks, actually any engine block, doesn't matter what it is the foundry marks and the assembly marks. And if you look on the back here, try to get out of the shadow, that says G23-7. And what that is, and no, this isn't a crack, this is just crud. That is not a casting date, that is more like a casting lot. They didn't put dates on any flatheads as to when date of casting or date of manufacture or anything like that. That didn't come till much later on. But there are, if you look, like right there, there's a little A step there. There's a 4 stamp back here. If you look up here, I found this kind of interesting. This is 5T, and that is the same number that is stamped on the crankshaft, or excuse me, the camshaft, and that is a specific cam. It's kind of neat. And then this is a 6 with a little diamond. There's another one there. There's a 4 over there. There's an 8 over here, an S. Yeah, there's all kinds of these little marks all around the block, which I always thought was really interesting. They don't mean anything. It's just assembly markings and casting markings and such. But we're moving along slowly, and don't worry, this is just flash rust. It's just where I've been washing the block. It'll clean up. So I've got basically everything to start assembling. I'm going to give this thing a little more cleaning. You know, on the Model A's, that diamond means something. On these, it doesn't mean anything. It's amazing how many of those foundry marks mean something, and others mean something and others don't. And this one, unfortunately, it doesn't mean a thing on these. So, but probably get test fitting everything today, or at least start on it. Maybe wash this block one more time. This is the 4th, I want to say, round of cleaning on the block. I did, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it with the sunshine, but if you see right down here, if you look in each of the lifter bores, I have drilled holes in the lifter bores because I'm going to use the Johnson. There you go. Now you can see it really well. I'm going to use the Johnson adjustable lifters, and they do make a tool to hold those lifters, but it's a real pain to use, and it's much easier to drill a hole, put an Allen through there into the slot in the lifters, and hold the lifter in place while you adjust it. So I did that on all 16, and I'll tell you what, even though there's no, in here, there's no oil or anything that runs through these lifter bores or anything, it was nerve-wracking as possibly can be to drill these holes. I don't know why I was so freaked out about that, but I was. And this one here, it looks like there's 2 holes. There's not. It's just 1 hole. That top mark is just a casting flaw. So, but when I put the lifters in, I'll show you how that works. And the block is cleaned up, or as cleaned up as it's going to get. Let's get the cam in there, got it all lubed up. I still need to clean up those cylinders, but put my main bearings in. I'm going to measure them, make sure everything's okay on those, make sure all oil clearances are good. Got something pretty neat here. These bearings are NOS in original boxes, which is pretty awesome. I got them off of eBay. Not like that's a big surprise. It's just tough to do one-handed. I'm going to keep the boxes. The boxes are as cool as anything. So, brand new bearings. Probably set on a shelf for, well, who knows how long. But they clean up nice. That's what I said. I don't know that it's NOS or eBay has some kind of secret time portal, because these boxes are in amazing shape. The rod bearings are the same way. They're over on the shelf, but I just wanted to show those off. So I'm gonna work a little more on getting these bearings in here and probably get them measured up and make sure everything is okay. Put in these little freeze plugs. Well, they're not freeze plugs, they're expansion plugs. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 3/4 expansion plugs, and you don't have, if you don't know anything about flatheads, you don't have any core plugs on the side of the block or anything. That's all you get is just those right there. And I don't really like them in the pan rail, because if they start to leak, guess where they're going to leak? Right into your oil pan. But that's the way they made it, so that's what we'll go with. Ford didn't date these bearings, and this is the rear main bearing, thrust bearing. Look how wide that thing is. That thing's massive. But if you look, I did find it says Ford USAT. Sorry, it's a little shaky. I can't hold it and hold the camera at the same time. And then A2, and if you look on the box, part number has an A at the end, so I don't know if the 2 is a engineering change or what it was, but just one of those interesting things. Modern bearings, they all have a date on them. It's too bad these don't. Getting a little more work done here today. Got half the pistons in. Starting to get a little work done here. We're moving right along. I wanted to point out some of the weird things about flatheads if you didn't know it. Normally on a V8 engine, the forwardmost cylinder is number 1. Yeah, on a flathead that's different. This cylinder right here is number 5. It's the most forward cylinder, even though this is number 1 here. So go figure that, or number 1's here, number 5's here. So go figure that out on your own. And in case you didn't know, these early flatheads did not have a rear main seal. They just have a couple slingers in here, and then this here is for a cork gasket. And so this hole right here is basically a return for oil from the rear main bearing. And That's just a crazy system that seems to work. By today's standards, it's really weird. And I think I mentioned something about these in a previous video. Maybe these are your rod bearings. And don't worry, I'm going to clean this crank up before I do anything. I'm just really test fitting everything is all I'm really doing here. You know, and they just, well, they didn't that time. But they just sit right in there like that. And then your rod comes down and goes right over the top of it. It's different, that's for certain. And they're honestly a pretty snug fit. I don't remember exactly what the spec is on these, but what your oil clearance is on them. But it's, I guess it worked. And it was just after this that they went to the individual bearings for individual rods. But it's just one of those really odd things. And something else I wanted to point out was this right here. This engine is in 1938. It was built in 37 for a 38 model, and it still has the attachment for the crank. So if your battery was dead, you could crank start it. Not that I would ever really want to, but the opportunity was there if you really wanted to, which I'm really surprised they still had that around at that point. So just moving forward, keep going. We'll have it together before long here. One other weird thing that I want to point out, it's another oddity to these engines. There's no chamfer on the rods like a normal modern day rod, where the chamfer side would go to the fillet on the crank. And as you can see, the bearing is what mates to the crank instead of the rod, which you're accomplishing the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. So it's just one of the things I wanted to point out real quick. I think I mentioned something earlier about the 5T stamped on the block. That's the 5T on the camshaft. Apparently, it was at one time a sought after cam for regrinding for circle track guys and whatever. But and there's the 5T on the block. So it's just one of those interesting things. I don't know that this cam is really any different than any others, but it's just one of those neat things that you find out along the way. So the short block is essentially together. Still got a lot of cleaning to do. I'm probably not going to paint this engine because I kind of want it to look like it's been in the Model A for a long time. Not that it will really hurt anything. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever seen a coat of paint make an engine gain 10 horse. If it did, I'd paint everything. But it's still going to be way better than the Banger once we finally get to that point. I think next video we will be doing the valve train. That's a heck of a lot cleaner than what it was. If you remember how it looked in the earlier videos, it was pretty bad. And it's still got some cleaning to do up here, but that's all just literally cosmetic stuff. It's all just a little grease and oil that needs to be cleaned up real quick. And I'm sure there's somebody that's upset with me because I didn't take it to a machine shop. And it's clean. It's not machine shop clean, but it's clean and it's functional. That's just crud. You know, like I said earlier, I don't want to be stuck for months on end waiting for a machine shop to finish up what they need to do. Not that machine shops don't do a good job, because they do. And but with the amount of money I'm already putting in this project, with buying the kit to put it in the Model A, I'm already as much money in it as I want to put in it. So, and this engine ran good before, and now it's just a little freshened up with rings, bearings, whatnot, everything checked out and spec'd. And this, you know, these cylinders, didn't clean up as well as what I wanted them to, but there was literally no ridge at all in these cylinders when I honed them. They weren't really egg shaped or hourglass shaped. Everything was in pretty good shape, so I'm actually super confident about how this is going to work out. So anyway, I think next video we'll get the front end of the engine together, maybe even get the intake on it. That would be cool. We'll see if we get that far or not. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching. It's Father's Day weekend, so I think this is it for me, and it's getting pretty hot. So anyway, like, share, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, comment. If you don't like what I'm doing, comment. But anyway, I certainly do appreciate you watching my videos, and it's been a fun journey, and we've still got a long way to go. Once this engine is together, getting it in the Model A it's going to be some work. So once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.